Yo, what's up? My name is Patrouski, and welcome to my list of the top 5 moneymakers within PokeMMO in 2026. Now, a beautiful thing with this list is that all of these methods make what we call pure Pokeyen, or items that will sell extremely quickly for pure Pokeyen. You will not find yourself sitting around trying to list Pokemon on the GTL, not understanding how to price things and waiting for things to sell. You'll get all of your income very quickly. This video will not contain in-depth guides on these methods, but it will do a quick overview of how to get started and jump into making Pokeyen, since we all need Pokeyen and PokeMMO no matter how we want to play the game. But if you would like more in-depth guides, they will be linked in the description alongside the timestamps. And let's go ahead and kick things off with the #1 money-making method, in my opinion, in PokeMMO. It's been the most consistent and well-rounded money-making method in the game for the past 5 years or so. It is, of course, gym reruns, pulling in about 220 to 300,000 Pokeyen per hour. Right now, you actually can make a little bit more if you get better, and there are tons of different options for gym reruns right now in PokeMMO, and that's the real beauty of it. Gym runs consist of rebattling the gym leaders in double battles and defeating them to earn really good amounts of Pokeyen. Usually you'll pop something like an amulet coin or a riches charm before doing the run to make more Pokeyen. Even if you are low on Pokeyen and you're scared to spend like 20k to, do a run, it's still worth it. You will always make more Pokeyen when popping an amulet coin as long as you do a few gyms. Absolutely everybody should be popping an amulet coin for their gym run, and then riches charms are for those players who have calculated their run enough to understand that they can make more profits. If you want to know whether or not you should use a riches charm, you can do pretty simple math. Using our handy dandy calculator right here in the bottom right, you want to go ahead and take the total number of gyms you do in 1 hour. So let's say that I do 22 gyms in my hour. If I were to pop a riches charms, I would make around 15,000 Pokeyen per gym. So we're going to go ahead and do that math. That's going to give us 330,000 Pokeyen. We're going to subtract the cost of the riches charms being 77,000 Pokeyen. That's going to give us 250,000 Pokeyen profit. Now, if I were to do 22 gyms with an amulet coin, making about 13,000 Pokeyen per gym, which is what you make with the amulet coin. We're going to go ahead and do that math. That's going to give us 286,000 minus 21k. The current cost of the amulet coin giving us 265k. So currently we would make about 12,000 more Pokeyen by just popping an amulet coin. Riches charms have gotten super expensive over the past years since players have gotten so much better at the game and have really optimized their runs. Now, it's really important to remind players to find a gym run that fits your needs and fits your playstyle. I still do one of the most beginner, casual, chill gym runs in all of PokeMMO because I like to do it while streaming, while talking to Twitch chat, while kicking back and relaxing. I can do this gym run every single day, 365 days a year, and I have no problems. I don't burn out. I enjoy it. I see a lot of players picking the most high-end gym run and then getting sick of it and burning out within a few weeks. It is not more efficient if you play PokeMMO to the point where you kill your enjoyment of it. So I constantly try to remind players to find the gym run that works the best for you and is one that you can do long term. But the opposite is also true. I've also seen some players do this gym run that I do and find it so understimulating and so boring that also burns them out. So there's no right or wrong answer. It all comes down to how much effort do you want to put in to make more Pokeyen, or how much Pokeyen. There should be at least 3 different options of gym runs linked in the description, and there are more on YouTube if you want to explore. The absolute bare bones basics that I recommend to people is going for a Cottony with Prankster and Tailwind, low level, and you want no stats on it. A Torkoal with Explosion and Drought, once again, low level and no stats. These are just sacrificial pawns to double your damage and your speed at the beginning of each fight. And then you want 2 Typhlosions with plus special attack nature that isn't quiet. So that consists of modest, rash, or mild. And you want it to be 252 attack and 252 speed EVs on both of these. And then for the IVs, you want 25 plus special attack and 25 plus speed. And then you want Eruption as the moves. If you have these 2 Typhlosions and those 2 Cottony and Torkoals, you can gym run most of the gyms in the game, which is really nice because these are 4 Pokemon. It only takes 4 Pokemon and 3 or 4 gyms, or 3 or 4 regions completed to be able to make 220 to 300,000 Pokeyen every single day. And that's the real downside of gym runs, is because you can only do this method every 18 hours. That is super important to mention. You can only do 1 gym run a day effectively. Otherwise, this method would be way too good and we could bring in way too much Pokeyen into the game, causing some massive inflation issues. This is why I often refer to Jimmy running as sort of eating your vegetables. If you do your Jimmy run every single day in PokeMMO, it's going to take care of most of your Pokeyen needs. The average player does not need more than 220 to 300,000 Pokeyen every single day. But that's all I'm going to say for Jimmy runs for now. If you want to see more details, they are in the description, of course. Next up, a method that actually recently saw some player innovation, which actually upped the amount of Pokeyen per hour. We're talking about trainer reruns. Now, train reruns are extremely similar to Jimmy runs in the fact that you want to go ahead and pop an amulet coin before you start them to earn extra Pokeyen. And when you do so, you should be able to make around 200,000 to 260,000 Pokeyen per hour, defeating all the trainers using the links in the description for the list of trainers you want to go fight and the paths and the routes. That's really difficult to explain all here in a quick video like this. But once again, further details in depth are in the description. A video like this is meant to show you guys the best money making methods, and then you can pick which ones you want to do or not do and go into learning more about them and pursue them. Trainer reruns also only require 1 to maybe 2 regions to be super effective, whereas with Jimmy runs, the more regions you have done, the better, but you really only need Unova, Kanto, and Hoenn done for Jimmy runs to be like fully effective for the most part. Extra gyms are nice, but that's all you really need, and you don't want to do all the gyms of the game. You just want to do an efficient route of 1 hour of gyms. The same is true with trainer reruns. You want to do an efficient route of just as many trainers as you possibly can fit within 1 hour. For trainer reruns, you really only need Unova and Sinnoh complete, or really only Sinnoh. Unova, we do like 4 trainers over here, and then we go right over to Sinnoh to do the rest. You also only need 1 or 2 Pokemon. Now, you can do this with just a Cloyster, and this was the strategy for a very long time. I will say with the Cloyster strategy, you only make around 200 to 220, maybe 230k per hour if you're super good, but this requires a plus attack, nature, Cloyster, naughty, adamant, or lonely will all work. 2v2 attack EVs, 2v2 speed EVs, and then pretty good attack and speed stats. But as you can see, my speed stat on this Cloyster is 17, and it works absolutely fine. You do want a choice band, icicle spear, and skill link for the Cloyster strategy. That is all super important. But for the new strategy that actually does make a fair bit more Pokeyen, 20 to 40k extra Pokeyen per hour, depending on some RNG. That is the difficult thing with this strategy, but it's pretty darn consistent from what I've seen so far. It is the same exact route and same exact strategy as the Cloyster, but we've actually started to use a plus attack physical attacking Articuno, because Articuno gets access to this secret hidden ability called Coalescence, where it has a chance to create something called elemental orbs when fainting Pokemon with, or fainting foes with ice type moves. So you want a plus attack naughty, lonely, or adamant Articuno. You want 2v2 attack EVs, 2v2 speed EVs, good enough attack and speed. Thankfully, these can be changed with those same elemental orbs. And then you want icicle spear. The ability should be irrelevant, and you want loaded dice. That is very important. You do need a loaded dice on this Pokemon. That loaded die is going to make sure that your icicle spears hit enough times to actually kill consistently. It is crucial for the strategy. But what happens is you actually do have a chance when doing these trainer reruns to get an elemental orb when fighting with defeating the foes, which are worth about 18,000 Pokeyen a piece right now. So you can get, I want to say, 2 of these on average per run. That adds about 35,000 Pokeyen to your run. That's a lot every single hour comparatively to the previous strategy. It is a big difference to make 200,000 Pokeyen versus 235k every hour. Now, similar to Jimmy runs, you cannot do trainer reruns back to back to back forever and ever and ever, but the cooldown is much less than Jimmy runs. You can do trainer reruns every 6 hours as opposed to 18 or so for Jimmy runs. So that means you can effectively do about 2 to 3 train reruns a day if you time it very consistently and if you want to do that. But to be honest, I would say most people just do maybe 1 Jimmy run and 1 train rerun if you really need a bunch of Pokeyen. With these 2 strategies, you can spend 2 hours a day, make 500,000 Pokeyen, which is more Pokeyen than most people will need in their PokeMMO life. At least every single day, of course. Or if you want to explore hyper endgame content like egg hunting or super expensive vanities, then yeah, you're going to need a lot of Pokeyen, but you can do 99% of the game with these 2 methods just 2 hours a day. Now, obviously, not everybody has 2 hours a day to do their chores and eat their vegetables and grind Pokeyen in PokeMMO, and I totally understand that. But that does bring up some extra flexibility with trainer reruns and gym reruns, is that when you actually log out of your account, as long as you're not in a battle, so make sure you're not in a battle, your amulet coin timer will actually pause. A big thing that I love recommending is if you have 15 minutes before work to play PokeMMO, you can actually start your trainer rerun or gym rerun, do your 15 minutes, log out, and your amulet coin will pause. You could hop on PokeMMO if you want to at lunch or after work, do 30 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and do your trainer run and gym run throughout your day consistently. You do not have to do these runs all in one sitting. I know that a lot of people don't have a full 1 hour block of time to sit down and play a video game. And thankfully, PokeMMO has thought about that, and you will not lose your amulet coin as long as you log out while you are not in a battle. But seriously, check out trainer reruns. They've gotten a lot better because the market has shifted in a lot of ways, and due to player innovation, trainer reruns are a really good method these days. And once again, it's pure Pokeyen. You aren't catching something and trying to have to wait for it to sell on the GTL. You're just getting pure Pokeyen from the trainers themselves. Next up, number 3 on our list is another money-making method over in Sinnoh. Now, this one's going to require a few Pokemon. It's going to be southeast of Veilstone City, and it's going to make you about 180 to 220,000 Pokeyen per hour. And I have a few different videos showing guides on this, as well as statistically analyzing how much Pokeyen you should be able to make per hour and showing my actual drops. You're going to be fossil farming for this method. That's going to be heading over to Sinnoh, specifically farming the stall fossils and armor fossils because you're in Sinnoh. Whatever region you're in gives you what fossils you'll get. So if you're in the Kanto region, you have a chance when you rock smash rocks to get things like old ambers, the dome fossil, or the helix fossil. When you're in the Sinnoh region, you have a chance to get these Sinnoh fossils. Now, the reason we go to the Sinnoh region is because there's a really good spot over here that has infinite rock spawns. But it is a little bit of a pain in the butt to get to, as you'll see in the background here as I travel over to it, and you will need many different HMs. I believe you need Rock Climb over here, Rock Climb, Defog, Rock Smash, and repels are recommended to repel between your Rock Smash encounters, as well as to repel on the way here. But if you loop around over here to Send Off Springs, come over here, rock climb down, and go inside this cave, you'll get inside of Turnbat Cave. In here, you want to go ahead and default, and it's also very important that you bring a damp Pokemon because there is a decent chance you'll run into a shiny Pokemon with Explosion or Self-Destruct here. But once you head inside some of the doors, you'll run into these rocks, and if you loop around to different doors, you'll see more and more rocks. And if you go in and out of the doors, you'll see more rocks to smash and more rocks to smash, and it's pretty never-ending. This is by far the best spot in the game to have basically infinite rocks to smash, and you can camp at this spot for hours and just stay here forever if you want to. You might need to use a few potions here and there to heal up your thief Pokemon, but it's super worth it, or you could put Absorb or Leech Life onto them. Let's go ahead and cover the Pokemon that you want to go ahead and have for this spot. Now, as you can see, mine are not perfect. The natures are pretty goofy and chilly. It's not a big deal. You can just do whatever for the most part, but I do recommend Frisk, Thief, Dusclops, and Dusknoirs, and that's important because Frisk is the hidden ability for these Pokemon, so you have to get hidden ability access. Once again, Dusclops and Dusknoirs. You can do this with like a Frisk, Thief, Baynet or any Frisk Thief Pokemon, but you're not going to be able to camp this spot nearly as long. These Pokemon are so bulky, and it makes it way better to just sit here for a very long time. You really only need one Dusclops or Dusknoir to get started, but the more you have, the longer you can camp at this one spot, and that means the more Pokeyen you can make, not having to go back to the PC to heal up and drop things off. But the biggest thing here is the EVs going 252 defense and 252 HP in all of these, because all of these Pokemon will be hitting you with physical attacks and pretty much never special attacks. So special defense is like not really important at all, and I just wouldn't worry about it. You do want decent, I would say 25 plus HP and defense IVs. And then once again, the only move that really matters here is Thief alongside that Frisk ability. What you want to do here is you want to go ahead and Rock Smash the rocks, and they're going to give you a chance to encounter a Pokemon and a chance on top of that encounter to encounter a Pokemon with holding an item. And that's pretty common. It's pretty decent chance, I would say. But a lot of times that item may not be the item you're looking for. So we can see here my very first encounter, we get an item. We see that pretty darn often. It's also very important to remember, this is a bit of a memory game, to take that item off of your Pokemon whenever you actually thief it. So the worst item you can get here is Hardstone. These only go for about 1,500 Pokeyen, but you can sell them to a shop, which makes them sell extremely quickly. And all of these fossils sell extremely quickly. People need these for rare shiny hunts. But Hardstones will fetch you about 1,500 Pokeyen a piece. You also get a bunch of Everstones here, which will fetch you about 4,500 to 6k Pokeyen at times. But once again, the main things here are the stall fossils, which are about 10k a piece, and the armor fossils, which are currently, if I could type correctly, about 9,000 Pokeyen a piece. And these do fluctuate depending on what shiny hunting events are happening. Is it shiny war time? You know, what's going on? How popular is the game right now? And how many people are hunting rare fossil shinies? You do also have a very rare chance here to run into a shiny spirit tomb. It is extremely rare, but it does happen to every, lucky enough player. But keep in mind, it's really important. Shiny spirit tomb actually has a lot of moves that can KO itself. This is one of those shinies. People always ask me, Patrouski, what is your Master Ball for? Why have you never used a Master Ball in PokeMMO? I think I'm on my Iron Man account. I actually haven't gotten my 5th one, but it's still, I haven't used it yet. What do you use them for? Honestly, Shiny Spirit Tomb is a great example of this is a Pokemon that I would go ahead and use your Master Ball for. You can try to catch it safely if you want with things like Taunt or other things to stop it from mementoing or cursing or doing all this crazy stuff, wacky stuff that I can throw out. But in my opinion, if you get a wild Shiny Spirit Tomb, it's a 5% chance on the 1 in 30,000 rate. I would just Master Ball that sucker personally. And similar to all of our previous methods, with this method, it's basically impossible to flood the fossil market. Like, there are certain shiny hunters. Think about it like this. Every single person that wants a fossil shiny has to buy 30,000 of that fossil on average. That is per one person hunting a shiny fossil, right? So often what happens is high-end players will just kind of load up the game for the day, buy 100 fossils, and then play the game, and they kind of just buy 100 fossils every single day to not super drive up the price. It's a very long-term thing. A lot of endgame players know they want to slowly buy their fossils for maybe a year or so before they actually start their fossil shiny hunt. Fossil prices also usually rise during something called PokeMMO Shiny Wars, whether it's a big team pushing up the price or the official Shiny Wars within PokeMMO. That can be a big factor. If you want to do some fossil hunting during that period, you might make more money than the money shown on screen right now. It's also important to know that you do get rock smash encounters while repelling, which is really nice because you can pop a repel and then run between all the rocks and not get the random encounters on these tiles in between, which does save you a lot of time. When I last tested this, I only used about 4 max repels for a whole hour. So in my opinion, it's super worth it to pop repels and make sure you're getting more fossils. Now, there's a Spirit Tomb encounter. The important thing to mention here is that if you want to make the maximum amount of Pokeyen, especially at the time of recording, it is unbelievably worth right now to pop an item magnet charm. I will try to do more videos on this in the future and constantly show you guys the stats and the data, but as of right now, with item magnet charms being 50,000 Pokeyen, you do make more Pokeyen. You get 100% more items when you pop this. It only lasts for 1 hour, but it doubles the chance of a wild Pokemon holding an item. I have a full video on my channel testing without item magnet charm and then with item magnet charm for 1 hour and seeing how much profit was made, and I feel very confident in saying it is super worth to use the item magnet charm at its current price. Maybe if it were like 70k, you could recheck the market and see what it looks like, and that becomes a bit more questionable, but up to 70k, I'd probably say it's still worth it. It's one of those things where I understand a lot of newer players might be hesitant to spend some of their hard-earned Pokeyen on an item magnet charm, but you're just going to make the money back and more. You're going to make more profit if you actually just use this, so I cannot recommend it enough. Now, the only important thing is when you use this, make sure to lock in a little bit. Lock in a little bit, focus up, and actually play the game as efficiently as you can, because you don't want to be wasting that charm. That does matter. If you're a casual player who you maybe are going to AFK, or maybe you have a newborn baby or a kid and you have to go check on them every so often, it is totally fine to not pop an item magnet charm and still hunt here. You'll probably make about 150 to 180k per hour as opposed to the 180 to 220, but you'll still make really solid Pokeyen, and there's no strings attached. You can stay here as long as you want, leave if you want to, or be very, very flexible with your hunting. But that's it for fossil farming. Now let me show you how to get out of this cave, which is probably the most annoying part of fossil farming. It's called turn back cave. So you want to head inside of a door and then head back through the door again, and then head back inside, and then eventually, hopefully, you reach a location like this. And then usually once I'm here, I head down south once again. And then once you're in this super foggy room, you want to stay on this lower level. Don't go to this higher level door and head inside this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't fully understand the mechanics of Turn Back Cave, but usually what I do is I try to head inside of a door, head back and forth, and then if it's not swapping, I just head to a different door and do the same thing. Now, the next money-making method, number 4 on our list, is the most brain-dead and chill one on this list. It's actually the method that most people do on alt accounts when they're playing Pokemon on multiple devices to make some Pokeyen on the side while also grinding for shinies or PvP or whatever they want to on their main account. This is the true backbone of the PokeMMO economy and the real salt of the earth grinder and player. We're of course talking about Ditto box farming, which will make you about 150 to 200,000 Pokeyen per hour, depending on some RNG and the IVs of Dittos that you get. Now, the main place you want to do this at is over at Falibor Town in Hoenn. Over here, you're going to head inside to Desert Underpass, and you only really need one Pokemon to do this. You need a Smeargle with plus attack nature, Lonely, Naughty, Adamant will all work, good attack and speed EVs, 2v2 for 2v2, but you can really do this with a few. It does not need to be perfect. Like, this strat is pretty flexible. You don't need the best Pokemon. 25 plus attack and 25 plus speed is nice. And then you really want False Swipe, Spore, and then 2 moves that do not do KO damage, because the Ditto is going to transform into our Smeargle. And if you have something like Payday or Surf or anything like that, then it's going to be able to kill your utility Smeargle. But if your moveset is False Swipe, Spore, Soak, and Sweet Scent like mine is, the Dittos literally cannot kill you. And if you have Safety Goggles, which is extremely important for this, Safety Goggles, it's going to make it so that they cannot put you to sleep with Spore. And that's what you really want. Because if you get spored with the Smeargle strategy, it slows down the fight entirely. Now, Ditto is about a 40 to 60% chance to encounter over here at Desert Underpass, so it's an extremely common encounter, and it's a really simple fight. You just want to go for a False Swipe into a Spore, and then spam Dust Balls until it catches because you're inside of a cave. Now, the main upside of this strategy is that Dittos sell for a ton of Pokeyen. They sell for about 5,000 Pokeyen a piece for any bad IV Ditto because shiny hunters need these. They use them to breed over and over and over again, usually 30,000 times on average, to go for a rare shiny. Oh, do you want a shiny Metagross or a shiny Charizard? 2 of the most famous shinies in all of Pokemon. You've got to buy 30,000 Dittos. Good luck. So those endgame shiny hunters need players hunting tons of Dittos to be able to sell them. Now, it is important to note, you should not sell Dittos with no IVs, or as we call them, Shittos, shit Dittos. You should not sell them on the GTL. When you do that, you are losing 1,000 Pokeyen per Ditto. Instead, what you want to do is sell them as a Ditto box. Now, a box of Dittos or Shittos is just 60 bad IV Dittos that's in your boxes. Like in your PC in PokeMMO, one box has 60 spaces. It is 60 bad Dittos. You should be able to catch about 38 or so Dittos per hour, maybe a bit more if you're efficient or have some good luck. So you can get about a box of Dittos in about an hour and a half usually. You can sell Ditto boxes in trade chat in PokeMMO, over on the forums, or over in my Discord or other Discords around the game, and they sell extremely quickly. If you are sitting on an unsold Ditto box, it usually means that you're not in the right spot, because Ditto boxes they're in such high demand. All levels of players, especially high-end players, need so many Ditto boxes. Once again, when you think about it as one rare shiny, the average person needs 30,000 Dittos, right? It's just, you cannot get enough fuel for that fire. And one Ditto box of bad IV Dittos sells for 300,000 Pokeyen. So you're getting 300,000 Pokeyen in about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 20 minutes of work. However, the big cost when it comes to Ditto farming is the balls. Dust balls and repeat balls are expensive, and you can switch to repeat balls, as you should, after catching 15 or so Dittos in a row. The way the repeat ball works is that the more times you catch a Pokemon in a row, it will boost it by 0.1, but if you catch a Whismur or go and catch an alpha Pokemon, it's going to break that streak and you'll have to restart all over again. So I recommend, locking in and just sitting at Dittos for quite a while, but it's also okay to reset that streak. The big difference is repeat balls cost, I believe, 1,250 Pokeyen from a Pokemart. You should not buy them from the GTL. They're, gouging that price. 1,250 Pokeyen from a Pokemart versus Dust Balls are 1,350, I believe. So you save 100 Pokeyen per ball, which does add up in long-term hunts. But since I have not caught a Ditto yet, obviously I would just go ahead and Dust Ball for my first 15 Dittos or so, and then you would switch over to Repeat Ball. The Dittos should catch in about 1 to 2 Dust Balls on average, so it does cost a fair bit of Pokeyen to catch these, which is why it's so important to sell them for high amounts. If that cost me 2 Dust Balls, that's 2,700 Pokeyen just to catch it, which is a lot. You're selling it for 5k, so that's half the price. And there's an unlucky one. It's pretty rare you see 2 breakouts, but it does happen. But I think the math is it should take about 1.5 Dust Balls on average for a Ditto. And there's our catch. And so far, we've only counted the cost of Shittos. Shittos are obviously your base Dittos. This is still worth 5,000 Pokeyen, and it's important to sell it as a Ditto box. If I were to sell this on the GTL, I would only make 240,000 Pokeyen per Ditto box versus 300k. It's a 60,000 Pokeyen difference per box of Dittos, which is absolutely massive. You also have a chance to run into shiny Dittos while you're here, or like really good IV Dittos, and if you hunt long enough, you will run into stuff like that. Currently, 2x31 Dittos aren't anything too crazy. Actually pretty cheap these days, around 33,000 Pokeyen, and unfortunately, a lot of 1x31 Dittos aren't even worth that much these days. 31 speed being 6,000 Pokeyen is pretty astounding, but Dittos with a good stat and then a good nature actually sell pretty well right now. Jolly 31 speed being about 10k is not amazing, honestly. Let's check Adamant. 22k. There you go. 22k to 24k for one Ditto. That's where you're going to get a lot of like your secret boosts of Pokeyen during this method. So make sure to price every Ditto that has a 31 like carefully and, you know, maximize your profits, checking the natures. There is a lot of skill gap and skill expression in this method in terms of maximizing the Pokeyen you get from the Pokemon you actually catch, and that's just something you learn with time. Understanding which Dittos do you just throw in a box and sell to someone quickly and keep moving and get back to catching Dittos, and which Dittos do you actually take the time to slowly sell. You can also do this strategy over at a spot in Johto. However, you can only do it at nighttime since that spot is not in a cave. So we're not going to cover that for this video, but there are other methods over at that Johto spot. I believe it is Route 47 is the very common. Yep, Route 47. It has Miltank and like some good shinies. You have Chansey Chance over there if you pop a lure, but you probably shouldn't pop a lure there because then double battles are going to slow down your catches too much. But that should cover all the basics of Ditto catching. If you want to see more calculations, more numbers, more strategies, they should be linked in the description. And alrighty, next up and finally, our fifth and final money making method that I want to cover in this video is amulet coin farming, which will make you about 120 to 200,000 Pokeyen per hour, while also getting you about 600 encounters per hour of Pokemon. If you are interested in a shiny Ponyta, a shiny Rapidash, or a shiny Meowth or Persian, this is honestly a fantastic money making method to do alongside shiny hunting. If you don't care about getting your encounters up or having a shiny chance at those two Pokemon, I would recommend doing some of the other methods. This strategy actually changed a lot recently, and I should have a new in-depth guide linked in the description, but I'm going to try to quickly cover it here. First things first, you want to start off over at one island in Kanto. This is the only spot in the game to properly do this. You want to surf over to this area right here, and then you need a sweet scent Pokemon, which I may or may not have forgotten. And then you need 3 very specific Pokemon at this spot. And this is where things get really complicated because the requirements needed for this method have skyrocketed. You do need a fair bit of Pokemon now to do this method efficiently, which is unfortunate, but the Pokeyen per hour is also really good, and it's pretty comfy, and it's a pretty darn consistent method. You do also want to pop an item magnet charm for this method, similar to the fossil farming, and you know, similar to the trainer runs and gym runs where we're popping these charms to increase our Pokeyen per hour. You will make more Pokeyen per hour popping the item magnet charms and using this spot. If you don't pop an item magnet charm, you'll make around 120k Pokeyen profit, and if you do pop one, you'll make around 150k to maybe like 180k max. And then to get 200,000 Pokeyen profit per hour, that is only if you're selling your shinies that you get here. But in fairness, you will get about 1 shiny on average here every 60 hours of money making, which is a lot, obviously, but you're money making, you're getting shinies, you're doing a lot of things kind of all passively. And if you sell that shiny for about 3 million Pokeyen on average, that adds about 50,000 Pokeyen per hour to your money making, which is really good. So you go from making 150k to 200,000 Pokeyen per hour if you're like on an alt account, or if you're okay with selling shinies, which I don't recommend selling OT shinies. But if you already have a shiny Ponyta, a Rapidash, and a Meowth, I understand wanting to sell duplicates, or obviously do whatever you want. I'm not your parent. If you want to sell your shinies, you can absolutely do so. But the 3 very specific Pokemon that you need is a bold Gothitelle with plus defense. You want a very tanky, physically defensive Gothitelle. And Flame Orb is actually very important. A Twitch viewer gave me a huge shout out on this recently. That was a really good tip from them, because otherwise you will get put to sleep and it will ruin the whole strategy. This only really comes up in fights where there are multiple amulet coins in one fight, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a quick sec. The HP you want for EVs, you want HP and defense 252, and then you want 20 plus defense, 20 plus HP, some good bulk on the Gothitelle, and speed does matter. You do want your Gothitelle to have enough speed for this to work. Gothitelle is also the only Pokemon that this really works on, because they recently added Hypnosis to the Wild Meowth's move pool. If you did this strategy 1 to 2 years ago, you've noticed it's changed a lot. You cannot use Bayonet for this anymore. Bayonet does not get Hypnosis, even though everybody thought it did. I thought it did based on my memory. It's one of those weird things, but it does not get Hypnosis, so you cannot imprison it. You need to be able to imprison, Nasty Plot, and Hypnosis, and then the 4th move is kind of whatever. Let me just show you what this looks like. Honestly, this all sounds very convoluted. This method honestly is kind of convoluted and is kind of complicated now, but it's a pretty good consistent Pokeyen maker if you want to shiny hunt alongside, you know, making some money. But let's go ahead and show you. So what you want to do is you want to lead with your Gothitelle, go ahead and throw up a frisk. We got lucky here actually and got a item on our first encounter. That does not always happen. We're going to go ahead and click Imprison. That's going to stop these Meowths from being able to use their Hypnosis and their Nasty Plot, which are the annoying moves, as well as it's going to force them into a physical what's it called, like contact move. So then, now that they're locked into a contact move, they'll either use takedown or assurance. We can hop over to one of our hidden ability access Weaviles. This is very important. These need to be hidden ability access to have pickpocket. You can hop over to your pickpocket Weavile, and all of the Meowths will be forced to make contact with the Weavile, giving you that chance of pickpocketing or stealing the item off of the Meowth, unless they miss the takedown like that. But thankfully, one of the other Meowths actually did have the amulet. There we go. That was really lucky, actually. There's the amulet coin. And you also do want to check in battles like this. You can frisk multiple items in one horde. It does happen. So if there are 2 amulet coins in one horde, you need 2 different pickpocket Pokemon to be able to get both of them. I recommend having 2 to 3 pickpocket Pokemon for this strategy, especially if you are using an item magnet charm. That's where that multiple items in one horde really pops up. But as you can see here, there was only 1 frisk proc in the chat, and you can check your battle chat to see how many frisk procs you got. But just to show you as an example, I would normally just leave this fight and plop the amulet coin off, and that's 20,000 Pokeyen. Every single amulet coin you get is 21,000 Pokeyen or so. Once again, we popped amulet coins for 2 of our previous strategies. There is an endless demand for amulet coins. People desperately need amulet coins because in PokeMMO, anything that makes more Pokeyen is always in super high demand, or like rare shinies. People love rare shinies. But to show you an example of what I would do here, let's say I did get 2 frisks. This is what I would go ahead and do. I'd switch back to my Gothitelle, and this is why that burn is so important, is because if they go for a Hypnosis and it hits, I'm burned, so they can't actually put me to sleep. Whereas if I didn't have the Flame Orb, this would be vehemently more annoying. If the Pokemon with the item clicks takedown and misses, it is a little bit of a pain in the butt, and you just switch back to the Gothitelle and do it all over again. So theoretically, let's say there's another item in this fight, I would just go ahead and click Imprison again and switch over to my second Weavile, and make sure to pluck this coin off of both Weaviles after this fight is over. You do actually want your Weaviles to be tanky for this. As you can see, this one does not have EV. I need to EV train this one. And then this one is actually EV trained incorrectly. So this is a great example of you don't need to do things perfectly. You need to do things perfectly in PokeMMO to make profit or make progress. But it just helps, right? Efficiency is not required, but it just aids your journey. So I would go ahead and switch over to this Weavile, and it would be able to pickpocket the second amulet coin if there were one off of the Meowth. Now, Meowths also do very commonly have Quick Claws, and that's going to waste a lot of your time. Unfortunately, that's probably the most annoying thing at this spot. And it is important, if you see a frisk proc on the entry of the fight, and then you use Imprison, but you only see 1 frisk proc, and you see the wild Meowth say, oh, Quick Claw activated, you can just leave that fight. After you imprison, instead of switching over to your Weavile to steal that Quick Claw, it is better Pokeyen per hour to just leave that fight, not worry about it, and then come back in the future. Now, if you don't see a Quick Claw proc you still need to like stay in the fight because it could be an amulet coin, obviously, and you will end up with a lot of quick claws. They do sell for 1,000 Pokeyen to a Pokemart. So here's my stack on my Iron Man account that I've been slowly, gathering over time. This is 173,000 Pokeyen, right? It's not nothing. Now, this took a lot of hours of amulet coin farming to get. Don't get me wrong. It's not, I don't count the amulet coins as more Pokeyen per hour because it's just so minimal. But if you do this for long enough, it will add up, and you will end up with like 200,000 Pokeyen from quick claws, which that's a Jimmy run or a trainer run. That's a nice chunk of cash. But once again, the more in-depth strategy and guide for this will be in the description. There are a few other, things that can be considered. But this video ended up way longer than I expected. I wanted this to be a quick overview, but I hope you guys appreciated the nuances and complexities. And I hope that this video could just jump you guys into making some Pokeyen as soon as possible. If this video was helpful to you, make sure to leave a like on it. Something like as simple as that is extremely helpful to me. Leave a comment letting me know that it was helpful. Subscribe for daily PokeMMO videos. I do upload every single day. You can follow me on Twitch for streams Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET. Discord down below if you're interested in that. If you want to go above and beyond and support the content, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, PayPal, and Venmo donations really do allow me to keep making content. The fan funding is super, super helpful and appreciated, and only do so if you can afford it and if I've helped your PokeMMO journey to warrant it. A final thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you later, and good luck on your amulet coin farming, your ditto farming, your fossil farming, your trainer runs, and your gym reruns. Yo, what's up? Outro Patrouski here, and I wanted to say thank you so much to everybody's name who is on this list. You really allow me to make the content that I do every single day, and I hope I can make it worth your guys' while and add to your PokeMMO journey. Thanks again so much for watching the entire video, and have a great day.